Good day, boys and girls. Today we're going to look at advertisements and the visual elements and the different techniques people use in advertising. The information is on pages 124 to 125 in your textbooks, as well as on top of page 126 there's a bit of information there. So you can read through all of that in your own time. I'm just quickly going to do a summarized version for you. So ads, adverts or advertisements are all found on radio, on TV, in newspapers, magazines. There are even ads on billboards next to the highway, or even in some places painted on building walls. So we have advertisements or adverts all over the show. Techniques that they use in advertising, the various techniques are repetition, and these things are fairly common to understand. So there's repetition, they use certain words repeatedly. There's exaggeration, of course, and then rhetorical questions. They would typically say, who wouldn't want to drive one of these? And then they don't expect anyone to answer, because if it's a nice fancy Volvo or BMW or Audi, everyone would like to drive one of those. And then they're also in ads on radio and TV, they use a varied tone of voice and a varied pace in the advert. Then printed media or adverts use visual elements to appeal to the readers. So that's when you find it even on television, when you find it in your newspapers and magazines. Examples of visual elements, boys and girls, are the letter or the font size, the style, the color, and then they also add artwork. Artwork include photographs or pictures or whatever, designing all sorts of things. Advertisers also make use of scientific information or statistics to convince people about their product. But you will notice that they omit, in other words, they leave out bad statistics or bad facts, things that could be harmful about the product, information that could change the reader or the listener's mind about the product. So that's basically it in a nutshell. And then when you look at an ad, the way we're going to do now, or you're going to do for homework for me, is you ask yourself, if you look at the ad, who is your target audience? Who's the target audience of the advertiser? What is the purpose of the advertisement? What type of publication is used for the advertisement? So is it a newspaper? Is it a leaflet? Is it a magazine? What type of publication is it? Also, is it a women's magazine? Is it a men's magazine? An outdoor magazine? Whatever, there are different types of magazines. And then how does it make you feel? So does it make you feel you want to run out and buy a Coke because all of a sudden you're thirsty? That's typically what happens in Coke adverts. So ask yourself those questions when we are going to look at some exercises on advertisements. Next, I'm just going to show you a couple of examples of ads. You can see there, we look at the color, the style, the font. Can you see how it's different? And also then the use of exaggeration. They say there it relieves fatigue. Coca-Cola isn't the only thing in the world that relieves fatigue, and sometimes that isn't even true. And they write there, it's the most refreshing drink in the world. Some guys might argue that there are other things that are more refreshing to drink on a very hot summer's day in Africa. The next one, cold brewed iced coffee. Can you see the use of color and the design there, boys and girls? It makes you really want to go out and get a nice iced coffee. And this example is about Audi. I'm sorry, it's not all that clear, but if you look at how they've done it, this is a brilliant ad. On the left-hand side, it says there are 8 cylinders when you need it, and that is the face of a cheetah. And on the right-hand side, 4 cylinders when you don't need the speed. So obviously, on the right-hand side is the face of a normal house cat. And you know the difference between the two. I don't have to explain that to you, but that is a very clever advertisement. Then for homework, I want you to do it on an exam pad. The work is on pages 126 and 127. Activity 4 that I would like you to do for me. Please write your name, your surname, the date, and the heading on the first line. and then you're going to do questions 1 to 11 for me. It's questions about the advert on page 126. So look at that advert, look at the use of statistics there, the font, the colors, repetition that they've used, even emotive language, boys and girls. That is also a technique that they very often use. And then you can just do this activity for us, and then whenever you are back at school, or whenever they ask you to send your information, your homework to school again, then you can just forward the work to me. Thank you, and stay warm.